Okay, so welcome to day 3 of Thrive in 2022. Thank you so much for coming back today. Thank you for watching the replays. Thank you for doing homework. It makes me so happy to see that this is resonating with you, that this is valuable for your time. So thank you. If you are just jumping in here and haven't seen the replays, just in case we haven't met, my name's Laura Green. I'm a yoga teacher in Southampton. Been teaching full-time, self-employed now for 12 years. I run a teacher training school, online and in-person classes, and mentor yoga teachers in teaching and business. So let's click ahead. Recapping again, the more you hear this, the more it's going to settle into the fibers of your being. As a yoga teacher, you are first and foremost a community builder. If you come to everything you do, and I really hope I model this, if you come to everything you do with the intention to foster community, be that with other yoga students, be that with people in your community that might themselves not want yoga, but might refer people to you, and of course to other yoga teachers. We are all in a community. And what does it take to build a community? And what is the underlying message of every single thing I'm going to teach you? If you take away nothing more from today, take away this: real conversations with real people, creating real relationships, and delivering real results. This is how you will thrive as a yoga teacher. Being on Instagram, teaching in the poshest studio, knowing how to nail your website, blogging, SEO, all these other things that people tell you about, they are not what is going to make a big change. They're not what it's about. It's about real conversations with real people, creating real relationships, delivering real results. So who lights the candle? We've been discussing this idea of unlit tea light ready for you to light. So as we move on today into creating your offerings, what are you ready to bring into the light? And it is no coincidence that we are here together, that you chose to do this, that you are sitting here in this very moment on the winter solstice. It is not a coincidence, okay? Not a coincidence. The winter solstice is about two things: celebrating the dark time, the rest, the reflection, the going inwards, which is what we've been doing for the last 2 days. But also the winter solstice is about celebrating the return of the light. Today is the darkest time of the year. Here in Stockholm, it is 18 hours dark. The sun's up to 6 hours at the moment. But as from tomorrow, it starts to increase. Same back home in England, starts to increase. From tomorrow, we begin to get more light. Okay? So at this junction of the winter solstice, with that return of light tomorrow, let's work with nature. What are you ready to bring into the light? What are you ready to bring into the light? Ideas percolate in me kind of for ages sometimes. They percolate, I grow, they grow. But then there was always this like switch where I'm like, right, I'm ready to bring that to light. I'm ready to bring that into the world. For me, the switch is invariably when I get the name. I'll have the idea for something. But when I get the name, that's when it comes. You've heard me talk about the lifestyle and yoga festival I run. That percolated for ages. Then one day on a walk with my husband, my brain went, Soulfest. Came home, did a quick Google. That name wasn't being used for anything. There we are. Immediately, I started to execute it. So that's my kind of trigger from the universe. When the name appears for something, but you'll get your triggers as well. What makes you go, right, time to bring that into the light. So how do we bring ideas into the light? How do we craft the offerings? Remember that you don't have to look at what has already been done. I see this time and time again. A yoga teacher will have an idea, and it might be new and fresh in their area, and they set about doing it. Then a while later, it seems like that's the most popular trend and everybody's doing it. You don't have to look around at what has already been done. You can create anything new and unique. And from a business point of view, if you're putting out the same things everybody else is putting out, there's more competition and there's not enough choice for your community. If you put out things that are different, that's exciting for your community. They notice it. It's not the same old, same old. So it helps you in a business perspective as well. So instead of looking externally at what already has been done and feeling that you have to fit in the mold, look into your heart and dream, which is what we did yesterday, and then create from there. Anything is possible. So when we come to create your offerings, and what we're going to go through today is blending your passions with your ideal client's needs. Again, this is building on yesterday. Designing offerings from your heart and creative soul. We're going to get into that in detail. And of course, believe anything is possible. You are a visionary. You're a guide. And remember that someone has to go first. But sometimes when you have an idea and you look around and you see that nobody's done it, it doesn't inherently mean it's a bad idea. It means that someone has to go first. Someone has to be the guide. And that's probably you. So let's get creative. You can tell I'm away from home and missing my kitty cats because there's a little pumpkin in the picture here. So if anything was possible, what kind of yoga experiences would you like to provide? So to give you a few examples, when I was thinking about this, and I do this process probably every 3 months or so, I think, what would I like to bring to life if anything was possible? So an idea I had in 21 was that I'd been teaching yoga before the pandemic. I'd been teaching restorative yoga once a month as a monthly indulgence. And you know, there's a lot of that around. And that's great. You know, my students would feel really good after 1 hour, 2 hour restorative yoga class once a month. But I knew in my heart of hearts that doing something once a month didn't deliver real results. And come back to our essence about real results. Makes you feel better that evening, maybe makes you feel better the following day. But it doesn't actually make a change to people who need deep rest, people who may be stressed, have insomnia, have chronic fatigue problems. They needed a dedicated practice. So I was thinking, if I could create any kind of yoga experience, what would I like to create? So I want to make a yoga experience where people make real change in their stress levels, their sleep patterns, and with underlying medical problems. So I decided to create a transformative rest, a 12-week restorative yoga course with added meditations, with scientific information about working with your nervous system, improving sleep. So it was educational and dealing with real results. So what kind of experiences would you like to provide that you know aren't just going to touch the surface of your students' needs, but really deliver? And would they be best online or in person? I do both. But I think, how is this offering going to be best delivered? So my transformative rest course was all about people making real change through rest. So I decided that was at best online, so people could learn how to use the stuff they have in their house for rest, how they could be inspired to relax every day in their home, as opposed to leaving their home for an indulgent space. Okay? And then I've started creating a new offering for next year, which is philosophy in movement, where I want people to really come together and share and reflect and grow in a community around yoga philosophy. That, to deliver real results, I think needs to be in person. They can sit with each other in person. Okay? So think, where do you want to deliver it that's going to have the best results, as opposed to thinking, oh, I'll do it online because it's cheaper than a hall hire. What is the thing that's going to make the best results? Remember, income is not the driver, impact is. Does it need to be a class or a course? How long would the sessions last, and over what time scale? And really play with that. I think often we limit ourselves. So my transformative rest course, that could have easily been a 4-week course. And if it was a 4-week course, maybe it would have been sort of 50, 60 pounds, and that would have felt safe and affordable. But I knew I couldn't deliver real lasting results in 4 weeks, that people needed time to embed rest as an everyday habit. I chose to do the course over 12 weeks. Now, a 12-week course is clearly a much bigger financial commitment. I think it was £220 for the course. But I didn't lessen my offer. Oh, maybe people won't pay that, so I'll make it shorter and just make it £60. No, I am standing up for real results. Let's don't dumb down what we're offering to make it more palatable. Give people choice. The price of something isn't the only driving factor. People will book more expensive things if it delivers a real result and something that addresses their real needs. What other passions would you like to infuse in your yoga offerings? So is there other things that are unique to you? Like, are you an amazing cook and that you love to share inspiring recipes? If so, why not bring together a yoga and cook course? Are you an amazing gardener? Why not bring together a yoga course that is about yoga so you don't get back pain when you garden? It could be a yoga course for gardeners, and you're bringing in seasonal tips, what you should be doing in your garden at that time. If you are, as so many of us are, inspired by the moon, why not bring together a yoga and the moon course? And that's something I did 18 months ago. What are the other things that excite you? I know we've got an amazing yoga teacher near where I live who absolutely adores, like embedded in her soul, poetry. And she hosts special yoga and poetry evenings. These are the things that stand out and fill you up because it's your passion. Okay, so let's look at a little more detail. So this ties in with your workbook. So make sure you've got your workbook, check your junk file, check your promotion file, or just take notes off the screen. So identify your target students. Who is this offering? Class, course, workshop, day retreat? Who is going to be for? And I'd really like you to think of a real person. If you follow anything on marketing, you'll often hear people talk about creating your client avatar, a fake ideal client that has the demographics that you're looking to serve. We're not about fake, we're about real. And I promise you, there's the difference. So bring to mind a real person that is the ideal student for what you have to offer. So some of you have heard this example before. Now, this time last year, I was creating a new, again, 12-week online course called Begin Again. It was a beginner's yoga course for people who wanted to dive in deep to yoga, not just start a toe dip. There's people like, I want to try that, but I want to try it properly. And the course included the yamas and niyama, it included a book on the spiritual teachings of yoga, included meditation, pranayama, and asana. Okay? And I picked someone in my mind, a student I'd had called Angelica, who I knew kind of was still at that beginning stage, really keen to learn more, someone with lots of depth. I picked her. And then I thought about who is she, what's important to her. What obviously the classics of who, gender, age, mobility, fitness level, why wasn't she doing yoga right now, but also, what language stood out to her, what were her hopes, what are her dreams, what was she looking for? So when you're creating new offerings, have someone in mind. for the new offering I'm doing next year, Philosophy and Movement, I have my student Sean in mind and another lady called Sophie. So I'm thinking about them when I'm thinking the course. What will I include? What will I add? Where will I host it? What will I name it? What words will I use that will resonate with that person? And better yet, ring them up. And if it's not a student, if you're new to teaching, think about your friends, think about your family, think about people in your community. Who's someone that you would love to create this offering for? And just ring them up. So I'm thinking of creating this new thing. Obviously, no pressure. You don't need to book this, but I'd love your brains to help me create this. They'll say yes. And then they'll hassle you until it goes on sale. So know their why. Excuse me, I'm just checking on the time. Okay. Know their why and their pain points. So let's put that in nice language. What are their real needs? So what is this person's real need that your yoga offering is going to serve? So Angelica, her real need was a thirst for knowledge. She wanted to learn more. Okay? Sean, I know it's the same. He wants to dive deeper into yoga. But the real needs of the people on my transformative rest was to learn how to sleep, to stop feeling tired, to carve out some time for them, to know they deserved rest. So what are the real needs of the real people you're creating this offering for? What is their motivation for doing the course? What is their driving reason as to why they're going to book it? If you don't understand someone's motivation, you can't talk to their needs. You can't stand out to them. So understand the real motivation for what they're looking for. How will your students' day-to-day life be improved through taking this course, class, workshop with you? What would your students' expectations of the course be and you? You want to think about those expectations prior so that you can design a course that meets them. And what are their goals? Again, that helps you to describe the end of this course, you will have achieved X, Y, and Z. Again, it's going to take you some while to think about this homework. So then once you've done that work, you can go into even more detail, summing up for yourself. Duration of the course, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 1 day. Cost of the course, venue, day and time, number of students. And what's the ideal number of students so that everybody can get real results? Learning objectives, AKA, what are the real results they're going to get from this course? Class, workshop, day retreat. Something like day retreats, I'll often say, you'll leave the day feeling inspired, refreshed, and revived. What are the real results they're going to get from the time with you? Course outcome. This is something worth thinking about. How will the students continue their yoga journey on completion of your course? An example of this is the beginner's course. A lot of people will do a beginner's course and then stop it. But sometimes people book that 6-week beginner's course because that venue, day and time suited them. And maybe you were just doing it as a one-off course, hoping that they would then attend your other classes, but your other classes are on a different day, a different location, a different time. You're really going to lessen those beginning students coming over into your other classes. So what I like to do is have a beginner's course and then follow it with a beginner's part 2, or follow it straight into that same venue, time and date, becoming just an ongoing course, a drop-in, a pre-book. So sum this up. Where will you hold it? Will it be online or in person? So that's the first step. Especially if it's in person, you're going to be limited by finding hall space. Doesn't always have to be a hall, for other gaps in your community, libraries, cafes that have a spare space. Hairdressers often have an empty room above them, but where will you hold it? Start there, because the availability of that place might dictate the day, time, and date. That's the next thing. Day, time, date. how many students, again, this will be factored in by the venue, any needs of social distancing, online, how many people you think you can interact with, but how many students can you take? And then what does it include? Not in terms of content, but in terms of, does it include a replay if it's online? Does it include a weekly guided meditation recorded? Does it include a book? I love to include books in my yoga courses. Does it include, say, my immersion course that I run includes a complete yoga kit, comes with brick, bolster, strap, and an eye mask. The philosophy in Move course I'm going to do will come with a copy of the Bhagavad Gita and chanting mala beads, which we'll be doing japa meditation. So what does it include? And it's important that you decide that at the outset, because you need to factor that into the cost. Whereas what a lot of other people do is they think of the cost, the price, and then they go, oh, I think I'll just add a gift bag, but you haven't factored that into your course price. So what does it include? And then what are the costs to you? So costs, obviously, venue, anything, if at all, you've chosen to include. Silly things you might include, like on my kirtan, we now include a little takeaway picture of a different deity and a killer mantra or chant that we're doing to that deity. So that has printing costs. What about any marketing costs? What about costs of your time? So what are the costs to you? Then what is the price? Once you know the price, I know this sounds silly, times it by the number of students and then look at the profit. Okay? I know I talk about income first and impact first and income second, but you still need to consider the income. So what is the profit? And are you excited? Sometimes I have amazing ideas and then I work through it all and something doesn't add up. I lose the excitement. Then you know what? That idea gets parked. Next up, this page before was the behind the scenes of you thinking these through. You then have to move on to writing up your offer. If this is a class, a workshop, a course, a day retreat, writing your offer is a flip in mindset, because now it's about writing words in a way that your ideal student will understand and resonate with. So what will be your course or class title? I'm going to stick with the restorative yoga example. So I'll see a lot of people advertise a restorative yoga, or advertise relax and restore, or advertise maybe yoga nidra. Do your ideal clients understand what that is? I always think restore is a funny word. I have never woken up on a day and thought, oh, I really need to restore today. It's not in everyday language, unless you're talking about restoring a computer hard drive. But I might wake up and think, God, I'm knackered. I could do with some rest. So it's really important that you use the language that people are going to not only understand, but have an emotional connection with. So that 12-week course I did on restorative yoga, I called it Transformative Rest, 12-week course. I didn't call it restorative yoga 12-week course. Which do you have more of an emotional connect to? Transformative rest or restorative yoga? So if it's not obvious what your course is, the title's not right. There's a lovely lady, Fabienne, that I'm working with in the mentorship program at the moment. And she's bringing together this amazing offer where you do like restorative yoga and crafting. So you make something like a bolster, or I can't remember the other ideas right now. But I can't remember what she's going to call it, like create and rest or something. Like, I don't understand what that is. So we just called it yoga craft. Can't remember what the strapline was, but make it really obvious in your course titles and names what they are. You don't want to have to explain it. And then After you've got your core class title, what is your ideal student hook? That's not a nice word, but what is the hook? What is the sentence, phrase, word that is going to entice them in? Okay. So my transformative rest course, my opening sentence, the key hook in all of the marketing was, are you tired? That was the subject of all my emails that went out. Are you tired? That hooked someone, so they would go, yes. Click on it, and there's the answer, transformative rest. So what is the hook? And you need to speak in your students' words. Course content as it addresses their key needs. So when people explain their course content, yoga teachers often use yoga language. Your ideal student might not know that language or know why it addresses their needs. So I'm going to go back to my Begin Again course for this. So I said on there things like, it included meditation, whereas I included mindfulness. It included pranayama, that included breathing techniques to manage everyday stress. It included an exploration of the yama and niyama, that I said includes an exploration of yoga philosophy lessons. So make sure you're using language to explain the course content that meets your students' key needs. Then an incentive to book. People are busy and people procrastinate. And in the process of being busy and procrastinating, they forget they wanted to book that thing with you. So you need to give people an incentive to book. That could be a free first class. That could be a free taster session. That could be a one-to-one with you. That could be just that there is 25% off for a January offer. It could just be the incentive to book now, 2 places left. So what is the incentive to book? And then what is the call to action? The call to action is, what is the step you need a student to take? So a call to action could be, click here to book now, especially if it's a cheaper offer. But if maybe you're putting out a year-long course, like my philosophy and movement, that's not going to be cheap, you might put, click here to book a call to discuss. Okay? Click here to learn more. Incentive to book could also be, book now and get a free meditation. And you could send somebody a recorded meditation. But incentive book and a call to action tell me precisely what I need to do next to book that thing with you. Okay, so I'm going to end the screen share in just a tick, but a reminder to go into the Yoga Teacher Collaborative page, to come find the after party, to tell me some ideas for your course. Give me a name, ask some questions. I'm always happy to give feedback. Remember, when you do that, you get the chance to win. First prize, a one-to-one with me. Second prize, a month membership to the Yoga Warriors. Third prize, 2022 Entrepreneur Planner. Fourth prize, a weekly habit checker. And fifth prize, the one I use, a yoga room spray. We will be here again tomorrow, same time, same place, to go over strategy, which also includes my step-by-step process for promoting something. Let me end the screen share and see if you're still there, because I can't see you when the share is on. Ah. I really don't like not being able to see you. So tell me what you're thinking, what's going on. Let's get some questions. Does anyone have an idea now? Especially if you have an idea and don't have the name. I'll often do that. I will message some of my besties and go, I'm thinking of doing this, but I don't have a name. And then between us, we brainstorm. So someone be brave, unmute yourself. Have a chat.
Laura, I have the name, so it's really interesting hearing you talk about a name, because I've got that bit already, which is like a beginners, but also for people that might have done yoga a long time ago. It's kind of along the lines of your Begin Again course, but called Yoga Foundations. And I really want to bring in all of the philosophies. So it's really great to hear you say it can be any length you want it to be, because I've been looking at how do I squeeze everything I would want to teach into a 4-week or a 6-week course, where actually I'd want to do that like probably much longer course.
Yeah.
So
and there will be
that.
people who will want to do that. And I mean, I know, Emma, you commit to long courses. You're a forever learner.
Yeah.
And they're the people you want to attract. And when I put on my 12-week beginners course, I'm always nervous when I put something new out that, oh, what if nobody books it? Always goes through my brain. And then I think, well, by not putting it out there because I'm nervous, well, no one will book it. If I put it out there and no one books it, I'm no worse off. But when I put the 12-week beginners course out, I had this lovely email back from a lady called Nicola. And she said, I've been on your mailing list for ages, but you have never put anything out there that has interested me. I love reading your mailers, keep reading, but there's never been the right thing, and I've still never done yoga. But this is the right thing. She was waiting for a 12-week, really intensive, and she's done everything else with me since. But she was waiting for that like yoga foundation 12-week, no messing around, let's learn properly. Oh, and I didn't finish the end of the story. You know that Angelica, when I put my offer out, I promise you, on heart, she emailed me back within about 45 minutes when I sent it to my whole subscriber list and said, oh my God, this sounds like just my thing. Can I book it? I wrote it for you. It was for you. It's the best thing. And I know one will say that. He doesn't know about the philosophy and movement course yet, but I know he'll say that. All right, let's have another question. Another idea?
I think, oh, hi, sorry, I should probably introduce myself before jumping in. I'm Beth. I think one of the things I kind of struggle with some of this is kind of still respecting tradition when coming up with names. So particularly I tend to teach Ashtanga primary series. And I have this idea of doing a course for people that are more interested in delving a bit deeper in terms of philosophy. So I'm thinking of just like exploring primary series or exploring Ashtanga primary series, but it's obviously that is like alien terminology to people unless you've done yoga before. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of torn between how to explain that, but also still.
I've got two ideas for you on that. The first idea is, I know I'll get this wrong and someone will correct me. What's that expression like? A rose by any other name would smell the same, would smell just as sweet?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know roughly what I mean. So what is in a name? What is more important when it comes to respecting yoga's roots is actually, what are you teaching? How are you showing up? How are you respecting the lineage? It's so much deeper than a name. And if a name stops someone from booking it because they didn't understand that, didn't think it was them, when you don't understand the name of something, it makes you feel excluded, okay? Makes you feel not welcome. Yeah, it's not for me. So that might mean that someone stays an unlit tea light because they didn't think that was. Whereas if you made the name more accessible, but still within that taught Ashtanga primary series with deep respect and integrity, there's nothing in a name. But you can also have a name and a strapline. So for those of you who don't really know what a strapline is, most companies have it. So Nike, just do it. Tesco's, every little helps. So you can have a name and a strapline. This is a terrible example off the top of my head, but you could go dynamic power yoga, Ashtanga primary series. Okay. So you could give it an everyday name, but then put the strapline Ashtanga primary series. So you could put like transformative rest, with restorative yoga. So you can have the big name and then the little name.
Oh, hello. It's
Hi. Oh.
No, that's really helpful, thank you. And that's kind of what I do with regular classes at the moment anyway, so no, thank you.
One thing I forgot to say earlier is we're all in a different phase of our yoga teach journey. Some of you I know are still training, some of you I know have been teaching for years. Be careful how bigger an offer you put out initially if you're new to setting. So there definitely is a kind of krama, just like how you would build a headstand. If someone is brand new to yoga, generally, then again, my beginner's course, 200 quid, genuinely, they want to dip their toe in with either a free first class or a reasonably priced beginner's course, or reasonably priced drop-in course. And then once they've done that and like it, then they might spend more money on a more detailed course. Then they might spend more money on a workshop. Then they might come on a day retreat. Then they might go on a week-long retreat. So how much they invest in yoga does tend to go up depending on how familiar they are with yoga. So if you're a brand new teacher without a client base, I wouldn't necessarily start with a day retreat or a half-day workshop or a really expensive course, because if you haven't yet started to build up your yoga community, you're asking a lot. I would start with maybe a beginner's workshop. You could make that, just 2-hour beginner's workshop or a short-ish course, and then build it up. So like Emma, yours could be a beginner's course part 1 and a beginner's course part 2. I know you're still building your following. So just make sure that the price of your offering is growing as your community grows. Day retreats and retreats built by your students generally. Let's have another question. On free first classes, I booked to go to a class at a studio here in Stockholm. They said, oh, we've got a really good first class off all new people. So your first class will be, and they put it in Swedish krona, and it was 15 pounds. I wonder what non-first class prices. Oh, Megan, your cat. No more questions?
Laura, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, thank you. You see them, Emma?
Yeah.
Really struggled to name one of my classes, weekly class, bringing lots of somatic movement, creative trends. Okay, so I'm struggling to name a beginner class. Let's everyone have a think. A weekly class, sorry, I'm struggling to name a weekly class where I bring a lot of somatic movement. Again, so we've got a word people don't understand. Creative transitions, again, people won't understand. Encourage people to break free from the habitual patterns and move from a place within. To me, as a yoga teacher, that sounds heavenly. But yes, there's a lot of things you wouldn't understand there. It sounds to me like that's very much your style. And I'm a bit like that. So my weekly classes, I have to confess, are pretty much just called yoga. Yoga with Laura. I put names on courses and events because I find just calling my yoga, it's quite open and I do what I like with it. I would only name my weekly class if I thought I wanted to attract a very specific person. So I would name gentle yoga. I do have a class called gentle yoga. I would name a yoga class. If I was doing an incredibly strong, dynamic, athletic practice, I would name it, dynamic power. This wouldn't be my yoga, kind of yoga, but if I was doing HIIT meets yoga, name that yoga. But yours just seems wonderful and full of your own personal style. So I'll just call that yoga. Yeah, I name courses. It sounds quite similar to my Embrace You course. Yeah, but I don't think I would name that anything fancy. I'm thinking of crafty yoga after you mentioned it. Use skills with crochet, felting. Only have a space for 4 students due to room size. So that's my call to action, only spaces. Yes, small yoga classes are amazing. Just please make sure you price them accordingly. You know, my drop-in yoga classes pre-COVID would have 28, 30 people in. So they were cheap. You know, they were £7 drop-in. And then I'd see other yoga teachers in my same area match my class price, even though they're in studios that could only take 5, 6 people. But they thought, oh, I better do the same price as Laura. No, don't ever look around. If you can only take people in a class, that is so boutique, focused, nourished, caring. It's a completely different experience. So the price should be a lot more. You know, and I said, you can't come to Sweden, I think I'm going to be paying like £20 a class. Right, that looks like hellos above. I'm scrolling down. Creative yoga. That's nice. You just have to say a bit more about what it is. I might be worried you'd make me paint a picture. Mindful movement, that's lovely. I think mindful movement's really nice. And I think people know what that is now. I also bring a lot of intuitive movement to the practice, so using improvisation techniques. So I'd be reluctant to call it yoga. Yes, absolutely. And you don't have to call something yoga, especially if you're bringing in many other techniques. You know, my transformative rest was called transformative rest. The embrace you was called embrace you, because I was bringing yoga in along with other offerings. So it'd be, yeah, mindful movement, creative movement. Okie dokie. That looks like questions done. Any last questions?
Hi, Laura. It's Susan again.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. I just wanted to ask you, what's the reasonable rate for a 1-hour yoga for a mixed ability class?
What's the what rate, my darling?
What's the rate, reasonable rate that you can charge?
Absolutely anything you wish to charge.
Right.
There is no set rate. It has to be thought about in terms of what are you offering. As I said, you know, if it's a weekly class with only 5 people in it, or for instance, someone did my mentorship a little while ago. She had her own studio space. It could only take 6 people in it. It's in Lyndhurst, you know, in the New Forest, so an incredibly wealthy area. We put on a ridiculously expensive class price. I can't remember now, but I think I can't remember. We put it at a course. I think it was plus £20 a week for the class. There was a course. But people in Lyndhurst, we kind of copied the small luxury hotel approach. They wanted boutique, they wanted small. And she's also a massage therapist. So every time you booked a 6-week block, it included 1 massage. Okay? And it was expensive. And that fitted Lyndhurst. But if Susan's local, so I can say, if she'd put that on in Thornhill, that wouldn't have had anybody book it. You know, you might need to be going really cheap in somewhere like Thornhill, but charging a lot of money elsewhere, so it balances out. So it depends on the hall and how many people. Southampton, I would go anywhere from £7 to £14 an hour. Okay. I'm 10 currently, which was a big jump for me. That was post-COVID. And then what are you including with it?
Okay, yeah.
All right, my loves.
Yeah.
Okay, so enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing your creative ideas, and we'll go in detail on marketing and promotion tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, darling.
Bye.